Yes. Is Elvina here? You saw her badge? Okay. That's awesome then. I can sit then. That's okay. Awesome. Welcome. So, yes, it's so great to have you all. And so to start out, like Jim was doing also, can you introduce yourselves, what you're doing, what community you're involved in, the following you guys have, and we'll go from there.
So my name is Sahil Parekh. We run a blockchain university where we do boot camps for developers in the Bay Area, India, and we're going to start launching in Singapore as well as Thailand. And so far we've educated 1,000 developers, and so yeah, that's a bit about what we do.
Hi everybody, my name is Anastasia Miron, and so the question back to you, is it a personal followers or as I'm an advisor to 5 companies, so the companies that I advise for or as a, all right. So the companies I advise for, they do have a very strong social impact, and probably the biggest is about 30,000 community that is very involved, and about 20,000 is like daily involvement. And personal followers, I don't really have a Twitter. I use only LinkedIn and Facebook, so I'm about 10,000, but that's my community that I speak to. The biggest community is my home, I think, and my friends. Yeah, and I'll be happy to answer all your questions. If you have something more specific, then we'll be discussing here.
Thank you. My name is Nick Mancini. I'm the co-founder and COO of Crypto Syndicate, which is a large community turned or pivoted into an actual company. And as far as we know, we're the only company building a next-gen communications platform built specifically for the crypto and blockchain industry. So taking all the best pages out of Slack, Telegram, Facebook, and Twitter and turning it into something specifically for a community-driven and grassroots-driven movement, which is blockchain and cryptocurrency as an industry. So it's been very fun building that, and beta launches in a few weeks, and I'm happy to represent a community turned company that's giving back to the community. So
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And your name is Anastasia? Not Anastasia. Anastasia.
Is the English version.
Yes, the English version. That's okay. Got it. Okay, awesome. So that's awesome. So when you're talking about building community, such a very broad topic. I have a few niche things I want to hit on, offline, online. So first off, I want to talk about the starting point when you think, what are we going to build? What are we going to build? What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? There's a famous author, famous YouTuber. He's an influencer, Simon Sinek. He wrote a book. It's called Start with the Why. And some of you may have seen his clips or read his books. They're incredible books. I recommend them. But the Start with Why was rooted in companies can't succeed without knowing the why. Why do you guys care? Why does the consumer want to buy? And so my question for you guys is, how important is that? How do you integrate that when you start with building a community? Do you start with a why or the what?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is starting with the why, because when you want to start with a community, you got to start off with what do you love? What is your passion? Because that's what's going to pull in people to your community. So if you're preaching about this on LinkedIn or to your family, friends, or whoever, you're going to find somebody that's just like you, and the rest of the people might judge you and think you're a weirdo, but you will find people just like you.
So I don't think the why exists without the what, and the other way around. When we build a product, we must have the community in mind. You can't just build something, oh, so awesome, so amazing, that only you need and only you're gonna use. And the community, of course, answers to good products, good usability, user-friendly, and something that is needed. Yes, the why is absolutely fundamental, and that should never, ever be in question. It should be embedded in what we do. And every morning when we wake up, we do something with integrity, and we believe in it, right? Doing something just for money is okay. I don't judge that. I understand that. I grew up in a very poor country, in a very poor family, so it's all right. But here in Silicon Valley, I think we're a little bit we have so many opportunities, right? So just doing something for the sake of doing it, it's not enough for me. So I challenge myself all the time. And when I speak to communities, I always speak to one person. Like, it's a person to me. It's not just a number of people. And I try to be as personal as possible and listen. Very, very important. So when we talk about online or offline, it's more personal and you get a better feedback. When it's online, you get numbers, right? So it's another type of feedback. There are criticisms, there are opinions, and there is feedback. So as community builders, I think it's fundamental to know how to tap into this knowledge and listen. And the why doesn't exist without what.
I'll agree. I think it's a little bit of both. You have to think about, what you're doing and what gets you up in the morning and what is going to attract people to your community. But on the other side, you have to think, why are people going to stay in that community? Why are people going to listen to you? Why are they going to listen to all of the insights that you and your other community members are dropping? And you have to figure out that, and without, the two-pronged attack of what am I saying and why am I saying it, no one is going to continue to listen to you, and they're going to go to that other Telegram group. They're going to go to that other Slack group. They're going to find another platform, another influencer to listen to. And you have to think hard about it. I mean, it's an easy answer. It's tough execution. So I can write down exactly what and why I'm doing every day, but if I don't do it properly, all is lost. So it's a two-pronged attack. The why, I think, is a little bit more important. That's what attracts people and keeps them coming back and listening and wanting more. But that what that's your platform. That's your base. So you gotta have something to stand on first.
Awesome. It's very, very insightful knowledge everybody had. Very deep compassion about what it actually is, or actually why it actually is. So with that being said, that kind of brings me to my second question. It was discussed earlier. Emerson mentioned it with the YouTube channel. Breaking through the noise, because the online communities themselves are just numbers. Sometimes it's less, but sometimes it's just numbers, and sometimes it's all some people have. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with Mason Ramsey, the yodeling kid. That kid became so famous so quick, and he broke through the noise so easily. Now, it's not that easy for everybody to do that, and breaking through that noise isn't necessary with all the noise, with all the hype, with all the attention on social media or online communities itself. Is it important to break through that noise, or is it important to keep a core that works and that you believe in, that you can work with? Because the numbers, I mean, Mason Ramsey has like 3 million followers on Instagram, like overnight. He performed at Coachella. He's this big famous kid. He's like 8 years old. He's really cute. But is that long term or is that short term?
So I guess as a YouTuber specifically in that area, there's a lot of people that focus on what they do best, right? And I think that's what they kind of embody as the content that they put out. And this goes back to the same point I put out last time, is that you focus around that's the type of community that you want to build, right? Versus if you're just trying to put out something just to get views or go viral, then that's a different ball game, right? So it depends on what kind of community you want to create. So
Yeah, I totally agree on that. It depends who is your audience. So if you want to really understand who are you selling the product or service or experience to, you really need to know your community. If you just do something viral, great, thumbs up, kudos to you, and it works. And actually there are certain formulas, but if you follow, you get closer and closer to creating a viral video. Of course, some videos just get viral because they're so funny or brilliant or whatever. But when you build a community, I think it's important to hear your audience, know your target market, and then create something that serves them. So I don't know this kid, never heard of. Probably he's amazing. And I don't know if it's long-term or short-term, right? He's been around for a couple of months, I guess. Yeah. We'll see. So my answer can can be real, it can be true, because we don't know if it's long or short. We'll see in a couple of years. That's it.
The first thing I want to say before I dive into this is I think we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about followers in the sense of YouTube subscribers, Twitter followers, long-lasting, 3 million people are going to see what I say or what I'm eating for dinner. And the other side is community members, people contributing back to the community, driving content, driving insights, driving innovation, driving change. So followers will just follow you off a cliff if that's where you want to go. Community members will guide you in the right direction and tell you to not jump off that cliff. And that's the biggest thing that I think is important here, is that it's not having a 50,000 person Telegram group. It's about having an insightful, content-driven discussion around like-minded community members who want to sit and listen to the other people around them and listen with the intent of doing something new or bringing in a different educational point of view that they didn't have before. So community to me means more working together rather than following someone to the end of time and listening to their yodeling or whatever it is that they ate for dinner that evening. So community is more important to me than driving followers, because followers don't enact change. Leaders do, and leaders are born from communities. And that's something that was very important to my company. So when we were creating Sync, which is our platform, is being able to create a platform in which you can manage, develop, grow, and then build insights after that conversation is talked about. So being able to create tangible execution off of conversation. You can't do that with followers. You can do that with community.
Yes, that's a very, very good point. So followers, community, yes. And I kind of hit on both questions just to see how you guys would take that. But now, that reminds me, like, it brings me back to, the pure expectations hypothesis with the way stocks work, right? So when an IPO launches, you find out what the real price, the real value of that is after maybe pretty quickly. The market figures it out. That's the same thing I think you guys are hitting on, was followers versus community. Your followers will tell you if you can make it or not, but your community will always be there. Your community is the backbone of why you can be there and why you can be doing what you're doing. And it's that whole group atmosphere, I think, is so important moving forward with anything. When you're building any kind of product, any kind of service, I mean, the users tell you what you guys want or what they want, what you're doing wrong, because they care. Versus they're just a number, or they scroll through your stuff on a feed, or they watch a few minutes of your video, you click out. I mean, there's a couple different ways to look at that. But so my next question is, now what is the future of building an online platform or an offline platform? So I'm going to hit on both questions again, or both sides, followers versus community. What's the future of building that with all the noise, with the way people's attention's diverted and the way technology is advancing so quickly?
I think there's a couple points here. One is obviously providing valuable content, right? So whether that's online or in person. But I think starting off with physical, because a lot of stuff is going in the digital world, right? I think you need to have a hybrid of the two. So, because that kind of creates an extension of your, community. So if you're doing a lot of valuable stuff, with a group of passionate people, maybe it's like a music jam session or whatever else it is, you're creating beats. And then you want to extend that onto a Facebook group and you're putting up your beats online, and then there's people maybe in Spain, accessing your beats, right? And then they can create a physical community over there, right? So I think having a hybrid of the two is the way to go, and keep on providing valuable content for the community to come back.
All right, so I had a thought and I forgot about it. Here we go. I think talking to us, even he's the youngest, it's already a speculation. You know why? Because we don't know the future, and you sitting there probably don't. We need to talk to kids that are 15 to 17, because they are the future users. So I just came back from a beautiful vacation in Hawaii, and I'm sitting in the plane, 1, 2, 3 teenagers on my left and one right in front of me. We just landed, and they're already on their phones on a certain app that I've never seen. So I'm pretty tech savvy, at least I think about myself that way. I've never seen the app, I've never heard, they told me the name, and I'm like, and they all 4 of them were on the same app. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? Oh, we're just talking. I'm like, why don't you use texting or, you know? And the guy on my left looked at me. I'm like, I felt so old. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God. It's, we don't really know if we don't talk to them, the next generations. And they are used to switch apps and products. They do not have loyalty, meaning that they need a product content that fulfills them. They don't care about who made it or, you know, who put how much time in it. But so to go back to your question, online, offline, yes, it matters, the content and so on. But when we talk about it, I think we don't have enough numbers and enough knowledge about what the future beholds, and we're speculating here a little bit.
So you actually asked my favorite question, and I don't want to show my company, but this is my favorite conversation to talk about. And I think the biggest issue currently today is that the entire community aspect of a widely grassroots-driven movement that is blockchain and crypto is the fragmented factor of being forced into many different applications or platforms to communicate. You have Slack, Discord, Telegram, Facebook, WhatsApp, WeChat. I mean, where do you go? You know, I was just talking to a colleague the other day, and you know, some people don't even realize that you need to join a Telegram group to get specific information about a specific blockchain. That's the only way that they disseminate information. And Telegram is just one giant group message where things can get lost extremely quickly in the fray. And there's just nothing out there that's scalable and manageable for a community member or a community administrator to properly work together to disseminate insights, information, you know, whatever is important to that company or that movement. And you know, like I said, I don't want to show my company, but that was our main goal of developing an application that solves all of that. So being able to have increased moderation and administration privileges, read-only channels for proper dissemination of information, news aggregation in it, cryptocurrency pricing and ticker updates, being able to follow people and verify users to make sure that your administrators are properly known and understood. Having a community dashboard in which you can search trending topics and trending communities to grow your network and grow your understanding of what's out there. So if you're interested in privacy tokens or you know, just blockchain education, you can search that and find a group that is specific to that. So I do want to say that we're looking for, you know, early adopters to hop on and be some, you know, early communities on the platform because you release in a couple weeks. But this is a big thing that we're trying to change around crypto, and is give crypto and blockchain a home, because right now it's fragmented, spread out, and you're not going to hit critical mass adoption rates if everyone is running around like chickens with their heads cut off trying to find exactly where to go. It's not going to happen, and that's the key to creating that online community and then having something that can actually create tangible executables off of that, building project management, disseminating proper educational insights, meetups, events, etc. So that's the biggest thing to me.
Okay, that's awesome. I love feeling people, you know, punch through the microphone with their passion. No, honestly. So that kind of reminds me, what I've noticed, and I've heard a few people talk, or many people, I guess I should say, with blockchain itself, we kind of taken technology and we spun right back to the beginning of time where we communicate like this instead of going through 15 different apps. We go through, you know, some middlemen, all this kind of stuff. We can just verify the ability to talk to people, transact with people, and I think it's so important to bring technology back to full circle, because this is how humans want to interact. We don't want to interact through a phone. We do because it's convenient, but anyways, the last question I have for you guys, is it okay to monetize a community? A community, when I say community, not like, you know, the people that use your product. I mean, when you build a community and it's a genuine thing, you want to keep rolling with it, is it okay to just all of a sudden monetize it? Because I've heard of some people, a few friends of mine organize meetup groups, and they're like, oh, I'm going to turn this into a startup. Like, is that something that you think will last? Is that genuine, or is that not organic enough for people to appreciate?
I mean, at some point you're gonna have to sustain, you know, doing what you do. But I think, you know, the beauty of building a community is that you figure out, because you're so dived deep into this community, you know, eventually you find out, and you find out with other community members, you know, what products to build around that. right? And I think that's where the best products are created out of. And I think that's an angle where you can monetize off of. Or if, for example, YouTubers create such great content for their, for their folks, and then eventually they need to sustain doing so. So sometimes they're selling merchandise, or they create an app or something like that. And it's not like forced upon their members to pay, to be part of this community, because that'll kill the community, right? This is just another channel or revenue that the people want to contribute, so they can get more content from their people, from the guy that they follow, right?
Well, I think everything is fair if it's transparent and honest. So if you discuss that with your community and they are okay, I don't see a problem. So if you're saying that monetizing the community would be selling their data or doing something behind their backs, it's not gonna fly, because now people are more and more aware of what is going on. And if not you, the next app or the next community or the next something, right? So they will just switch. There is very little forgiveness now. So that is not, I don't think it's okay to think, oh, I'm gonna just monetize that. But I would go with, be transparent, talk to your community, and I don't see a problem. Why not? Sure.
Yeah, so monetization can mean many things. Like, are you user data? Is it, are you turning it into a company, et cetera? I think we all understand changing the world, beating legacy systems requires vast amounts of money. You're not going to change you're not going to change the entire game with a few pennies in your pocket. But in terms of exactly what you said, is if you're going behind the community's back and you're making them sign on and you're aggregating all of their emails and personal data and addresses and web history, that's not the way to go about it. There's many other ways to make money that is much more cleanly and community friendly. Off the heels of that requires creativity and not just being a lazy developer, who's in a dark room just aggregating web data. That's not cool. It makes money, but it's not, from a community aspect, it's not okay, nor do people, take kindly to that, especially after we've seen the whole Facebook and Cambridge Analytica fiasco. So in terms of monetizing it and taking a few members who really enjoyed something and turning it into a company, I did that. That's what happened to me, and I'm very happy that it was there and the community was behind us. But they would not have been behind us if we weren't so upfront about our goals and what we wanted to do in the beginning. And we said we wanted to anonymize all of your data. We want to take a page of the cryptographic playbook and use ZK snarks to hash everything to make sure that personal data is anonymized before it even goes into what we store. And that's important to people. And they enjoy to hear that you care about their well-being and about internet privacy rights as well. So monetizing that is what we would consider evil. I don't support, but at the end of the day, not everything is for free. And if you want to do something long term and truly change the way that the legacy systems that are in place are moving forward, then it requires some sort of monetization strategy. But we need to be creative. I assume we're all here because we're all creative in some sense. So I'm sure we have many ideas.
Awesome. I think Jamari is getting ready to kick me off the stage here. Well, yes. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Anastasia and Sahil. And I hope you guys enjoyed that talk. Time for questions, Jamari?
I'll be around. I'll stick around. I'll sit right there.
2 questions. Okay. Yes, question.
So again, what I do has a very strong social impact. So people are driven by that. And if it's, for example, Seva Exchange, they do time banking, just to make it short, time banking, and they put it on blockchain and exchange that. So people who like to volunteer, they are strongly motivated by that, right? So the motivation, the main motivation, I think it's intrinsic and it's something that you care about. And then it starts building, right? Bitcare, they work in the healthcare. So people who are frustrated with the healthcare, they are driven to participate in the project and really see it changing. So what I've seen so far in my previous startups, not blockchain related, It's the frustration or the dissatisfaction or the very strong desire to see something change. So people get involved and they stay for much longer, and they really bring a lot of their talents around.
I like to build off that. So being active and being positive is what has responded well to our community. We took a 10-person community and raised it to 3,000 in 4 weeks' time. And it was because we were active and we told people, great job, great insight, thanks for sharing. You know, can we DM about this? I want to have a conversation. Basically making them feel like they were part of the community, not just someone who's posting and not getting any return. Making sure that if no one responds, you respond. They appreciate that. And then they want to tell people, you know, Nick in that Slack channel was super cool, like you guys should come join and listen to what he has to say. Then more people share, and then that grassroots movement takes off. So basically incentivizing through positivity is the best way that I can say, especially when you're behind a computer screen. People who like to be behind a computer screen want to be recognized for their work, and just making them feel a little bit special goes an extremely long way.
So we used to do like meetups, specifically on like blockchain workshops for like developers and non-technical people. And you know, this was just like a pure intent, you know, just doing this for the community. And so we used to constantly run these, and you know, every week slowly we would see more and more people joining this, right? Kind of felt like Jesus, but you know, so more and more people kind of kept coming by. And then eventually people were saying, you know, that they wanted to pay for these type of things. And you know, they're like, hey, could you kind of make a more structured, you know, full-on course boot camp for this? And that's kind of then when they recommended that they'd be willing to pay, and that's when you know you have something of value.
Awesome. I think that'll be it for today. But to come back to Nick's point real quick, what he's basically saying, that kindness, that genuine, that, hey, DM me, let's talk. That goes back to, and it reminds me, I'm sure you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. I'm sure people in the audience are familiar with Gary V as well. He's a content guy, graphic, digital marketing, influencer marketing. He does all kinds of stuff. But he always says positivity wins, kindness wins. Interact with your community, respond to every single email you get, every single DM, and he preaches it nonstop. So, but yes, very aggressively too. But yes. All right, Jamari, we getting kicked off here? All right. Well, give everybody a hand here.
All righty. All righty. Hopefully you guys learned a lot, heard a lot. Remember, you can always follow back up with these people at a later time. We're going to move into our next panel. And our next panel is, I should have had it plugged up. Wait a second. Finding the link on my phone. And it's negative. All right. It's something about communities, partnerships. Google communities. Community